Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard, and welcome to LifeSpa.com, where we prove the ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science. And today I'd like to introduce to you something very special. It's our LifeSpa Kaya Kalpa Cleanse. You know, I administered Ayurvedic Panchakarma. It's the Ayurvedic detox rejuvenation therapy for 26 years, starting in 1986. And I did it here at LifeSpa for many years, and then a few years back, closed the Panchakarma Center so I could do more writing and kind of teach more and get more information out to folks for free. We then started at that point the Colorado Cleanse, which is our 2-week digestive reset Ayurvedic cleanse. We also put together our 4-day free ebook called the Short Home Cleanse, which is available. But you know, along the way, even back when I came back from India and we introduced Panchakarma and the Colorado Cleanse and the Short Home Cleanse, we realized that the American Western physiology was way more delicate than what the Vedic kind of prescription indicated. We had to dial down the amount of ghee. We had to dial up the amount of food that people ate. We had to create 3 tiers of eating: the poly diet, where you could eat sort of anything, and then a duo diet, where you eat 2 things, and then a mono diet, where you eat just 1 thing, like khichdi. It was really a challenge to create a cleanse that people could do and have success with without creating an overzealous healing reaction or even a healing crisis. And that's something that we worked with for many, many years, back in 1986 when I first came back from India. And then stood this thing called Kayakalpa. And I read a book back in the early 1980s, one of the books that got me super interested in Ayurvedic medicine. It was a book by a Maharaj called Autophagy, and he was supposedly this Indian monk who lived to be 185 years old. A lot of mythology here, but lots of times in mythologies there's truth. And very recently there's been some scientific investigation by USC researcher, longevity research, maybe the best longevity researcher in the world, Walter Longo. And he wrote a book called The Longevity Diet. And he did research and he found that a very specific amount of calories, a very specific amount of calorie restriction for a very specific amount of time could actually enhance the effectiveness of deep rejuvenation, Kayakalpa, body transformation, measured by something called autophagy. Autophagy is what happens when you don't eat too much. Your body goes into a repair mode, which is Nobel Prize winning science now, where it scavenges all the bad parts and tries to make good of the bad and get rid of anything that can't be reused. It's a powerful rebuild process, which is why calorie restriction is one of the most powerful therapeutic endeavors you can engage in. He also discovered that you can activate stem cell activity, which is rejuvenation of the cells when you do a certain very prescriptive amount of calorie restriction. Well, it turns out that the Ayurvedic cleanses and the original Kayakalpa therapy was very much in line with this idea. This book about Autophagy that I read talked about him when he was 50 years old. He was sort of became a monk, and then he went into this Kayakalpa therapy, which was sensory deprivation, a very small amount of food, Ayurvedic detox, special herbal rasayanas, and he found that he came out 30 days later or 6 weeks later, depending on who you read, and his hair would fall out and grow new hair, and his skin would peel and grow new skin, and it was deep, deep rejuvenation, right? Then he went back and at about 100 years old and did it, and did 125, did it again. And the story goes that he did this a few times and lived to be 185 years old, right? We don't have any record of proof of that. But like I said, in the myth, there is oftentimes truth, right? And when I went to India in 1986, I was fascinated by Kayakalpa, and I kept looking for where are the herbs that make this happen, and where does this happen? And I searched in Varanasi and went to the south in Cochin and went everywhere I could to get more information about Kayakalpa, because that was like the most fascinating thing regarding longevity. And most of the Ayurvedic doctors would tell me, yes, it exists, it's a real thing, but a lot of the herbs are not available anymore. They've been endangered or they're really rare, which is really one of the reasons why we created our program called RARE, which is reviving Ayurveda's rare ecology. And we took one of the herbs called kukti and helped it become less endangered. It was taken off the market in 1986 and There's a group that I work with called Dunagi Foundation or Dunagiri Foundation, and we helped. In fact, we bought the entire crop, not this last harvest, but the one before, and gave the proceeds back to the farmers. And since then, they've created a co-op where they get 4 times as much as they used to get. Corporate buyers can't just go to one farmer. They have to go to all the farmers at the same time. They all get the same price. The vice president of India flew up there, had a big celebration. All of a sudden, there's a lot of excitement and revival happening in this very high Himalayan mountain village where they're growing this very high altitude herb, which is really cool. So anyway, very fascinated, always been fascinated about reviving Ayurvedic medicine, particularly the ones which were so powerful that they became endangered because everybody used them, right? So that's one of the programs. You could read more about our RARE program on my website. Just type in R-A-R-E and you'll get some info on what we did with that regard. So how did Ayurveda come up with this plan to create this deep rejuvenation transformation of the body where the body would rebuild and rejuvenate? Well, back in 1991, a UCLA researcher, a longevity researcher named Roy Wolford went into a biosphere for a couple of years where he like 7 scientists did this, and they grew their own food and they were self-sufficient, and it was 2 years of calorie restriction. And when they came out, they had lost a bunch of weight, they were shrunk, and the researcher who watched them and monitored them when they came out was Walter Longa. And his research, he was fascinated by the fact that their organs literally shrunk in size in this 2 years of calorie restriction. And what happened after they came out is their organs grew back to normal size. And he said the only way that could happen is if somehow the calorie restriction activated stem cell activation. So he engaged in research with fruit flies and mice and then humans, and found that if you do the very precise amount of calorie restriction, that you can activate autophagy, the Nobel Prize winning scrubbing and cleaning of the cells, gobbling up all the bad stuff and repairing and rejuvenating and creating new parts that work from the old broken parts, and stem cell activation, where we actually create these cells that do the repair and the rejuvenation, and the Kayakalpa, the body transformation. So this is what the research was, and it was very specific. It was really amazing to me was that what he discovered that actually triggered the Kayakalpa, or the body transformation, the Kayakalpa, the stem cell activation, and the autophagy was so similar to the original Vedic prescription of cleansing, a little more aggressive than our Colorado cleanse, our Panchakarma, and our short home cleanse. So I was like, this is the time to release the Kayakalpa cleanse with very specific calorie restriction, very specific time, a 5-day cleanse instead of a 4-day. We have our short home cleanse, or a 14-day. It's just 5 days. It's way more aggressive. It includes a deeper, a more specific herbal regime, not that many actually, just a couple of herbs, but more specifically sensory deprivation. In the other cleanses you can work and go about your business. This one does require you to take 5 days, maybe this summer, and retreat yourself and really do a deep rejuvenation. This cleanse is clearly not for everyone. This is a cleanse for people who are experienced cleansers, experienced calorie restrictors, experienced intermittent fasters, people who do intermittent fasting or calorie restriction, or time-restricted eating, and they do it comfortably and successfully, and they have no problem doing cleanses. This is a cleanse for people who are pretty healthy and want to take it to the next level. It requires some sensory deprivation. We do the ghee, a little bit more ghee than we are used to, which facilitates the dumping of the gallbladder, the resetting of fat burning, and the oleation of the body to create a chelation of pulling impurities out of your fat cells, and there's good science to back that up. We use khichdi only, not that much, and the khichdi you take is a intestinal repair agent, and that's the only food that you eat. And you get roughly about 1,100 calories, 600 to 1,100 calories per day, depending, and you'll read that in the notes, and the ebook that comes along with this is free, so you can read the entire cleanse by yourself. and you can get it all for free, read the details of it, and you can see whether this feels like something that you can do. We give you some herbal rasayanas. Rasayana is the name for the study of longevity in Ayurveda, and there are some Ayurvedic herbs that are by definition rasayana, standalone herbs that are rasayana by definition, which means they support longevity. And I think maybe the most important part, because when you really start to burn fat, you release old molecules of emotion. You have the access to being aware of old patterns of behavior that you may have created as a young child that may not be serving you today as an adult, and you get to see them kind of up front and center. We give you some journaling exercises, some self-inquiry or critical analysis processing that you go through during this time to really make sure that when you transform the body, it's not just the body, it's the mind and the emotions, and that frees you up to have the clarity to make deep spiritual change in your life, to choose love and to choose to be more open, to be more vulnerable, sometimes to be more delicate, sometimes, and to, yes, even be more powerful, because it's not about a return on investment. It's about you taking that risk to let the petals of your flower, your heart, open and letting who you are out in a powerful way with no concern of others. You don't care. You're doing you because that's who we are here, and that's what we're here to do. And that's what Ayurvedic Kaya Kalpa is really about. It's a deep transformation of the body, mind, and spirit. And we now have science to prove that this particular technique matches up perfectly with the research at USC to activate autophagy and stem cell activation. And once you get used to calorie restriction or time-restricted eating, you can gracefully go through this process on a regular basis and keep amping up your cellular rejuvenation and your autophagy, which is pretty cool. This also includes lymphatic cleansing. We have a circadian medicine reset, which is like critical. There's yoga, breathing, and meditation involved. There's hydration. And then maybe the most important thing is deep rest, giving yourself permission to do nothing and maybe accomplish everything, as opposed to feeling you have to go. This is a cleanse where you really have to give yourself permission to really do nothing, because it's in that stillness of that calm lake that the body can be more clear, more aware, right? So you can see more deeply inside of yourself, increasing self-awareness where the body can recognize problems as problems and stimulate a natural, spontaneous healing response. This is what creates coherent biophoton release. When you're stressed out, on the run, go, you create incoherent biophoton release. Biophotons are those particles of light that live at the junction point between field and physiology. And Ayurveda says if you can bring your attention to that place where the field, the quantum fields, become matter or physiology, and put your attention where they join, which is what photons are by definition, and those biophotons are what we release on a regular basis, you can actually create deep transformation, bringing the field, perhaps the field of consciousness, and infuse that into every cell of your body by actually bringing awareness to the place where the physiology, which may have lost its connection to the field or to the whole, and bring the memory, restore the memory of pure consciousness or the memory of the whole back into the physiology. That is how Ayurveda talks about healing. It's a deep restoration of the memory of pure consciousness, as opposed to the parts functioning independently. It's parts becoming aware that it functions better as part of the whole. Call that a field, call that electromagnetic fields, call that the quantum fields, or call that consciousness. We do know that those fields are intelligent. There's incredible science now to back that up. So kind of really interesting to dip the cloth of your physiological dye into that field of consciousness, that informed, intelligent field of intelligence or consciousness, and infuse that into your physiology. Wakes it up, creates more biophotons, and that are more coherent versus stressed out and incoherent. So there you have it, a little glimpse. Please read the free ebook where I go into detail of how to do the Kayakalpa Cleanse. It's very simple, really. The ebook is not very long, and it's all for free for you to check it out, download it, read it, and enjoy the new LifeSpa Kaya Kalpa Cleanse. And remember, this cleanse is not for anyone. You need to be an experienced cleanser before you start. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.